obviously Trade Nation, does thousands of trades per day. What tends to be what market's the most popular with your clients, and what trends have you seen actually? Has that changed over the years?
Yeah, it has actually. It's quite interesting. I suppose our main markets, and the most popular markets are all stock indices, but they're, to my mind, they're not the most obvious ones. Our most popular market is the Dow Jones Industrial Average,
Okay.
and also the German Dax. And just sort of has become increasingly popular, especially over the last couple of years. It's been the NASDAQ 100. So that's what we call the US Tech 100. Now, the NASDAQ, for obvious reasons, I mean, we've seen some incredible moves in it. And of course, tech has really driven some of the biggest advances we've had, especially in US markets. But it also has been responsible for some terrific downturns as well. But we are back. I think we're closing in on all-time highs, if not there at the moment. In 2023, we've had an incredible bounce back since the October of 2022. And within that, you've got the Magnificent Seven stocks as well. So they're sort of something to look after. But I suppose what really interests me, not that the NASDAQ 100 is suddenly very popular, but is how the Dow has been enduringly popular with our clients, rather than something like, say, the S&P 500, because the Dow is a very old-fashioned index. It's price-weighted rather than weighted by market capitalization, which means it can move in very odd ways. It's also a whopping great big index, 37,000 or something like that. So in other words, of course, you can size your trades. You can do as little as a penny or 10p or whatever it is on the big index. But nevertheless, I sort of always, for myself, I always think of the US 500, the S&P 500 as the prime US index, but that's not the one that everybody wants to trade. I should say, outside of that, our biggest, if we look at currencies in particular, outside of that, the euro dollar, followed by the sterling dollar, and then the dollar yen. Those are our three big currency pairs.
Okay, and what's what the average holding period of a Trade Nation client, and what sort of how long do you guys you mentioned day trading there, and people maybe scalping, and are you what tends to be the average holding period for some of the trades for most of your clients?
Well, we do have clients who will hold positions for weeks, maybe a month, but it tends to be much shorter. And in fact, I think if we looked at the average right across the board, we're looking at holdings of 24 hours, around that 24-hour period, sometimes a bit less, sometimes a bit more. That would be the recent average.
Right. Okay. Fine. And what obviously you guys have there's lots of competition in the trading marketplace. But if someone's reading this and watching this and listening to this and thinking, well, am I right for Trade Nation? What would you say is your perfect client fit? What obviously you mentioned the Dow there. By the sound of things, your spreads on the Dow will be pretty strong as well, I imagine, and on the DAX. But what's your perfect type of client then for Trade Nation? What type of client do you try and attract?
Well, we really like to think that we're open for all. I mean, we do have introducers who have brought, first-time traders to us, and who have found the platform intuitive and, as I say, straightforward, and that's been very appealing for them. Plus, the other features that they can get on the platform. But I think in terms of sort of more seasoned traders, they are coming to us increasingly because they know that the fixed cost spreads, those spreads really are a benefit when it comes to regular trading, and they can see that pay off.
And what is the busiest months of the year for Trade Nation normally when you trade? I mean, is it a case? Obviously, I know elections and those sort of things.
Yeah.
Busy periods. Any other times of the year that are very busy for traders? What's the we're in December now when we're recording this. December, January, the winter times. How do they fare for trading normally?
They're quiet. I mean, especially sort of the lead up to the Christmas or holiday season and New Year. But we also, it does vary. I mean, there used to be a time when there was all this sell in May, come back and some Ledger's Day. In other words, taking from May to September, just sort of like, forget it. It's all, nothing happens. And that, I suppose that was, even when I started, that was pretty much the way things are. But things aren't like that anymore. The fact that so many markets are open 24/5, and there are so many more participants. Markets don't really have these sort of fallow periods, but you do see sort of summer months that things do sort of die down. Then sort of that July-August period is of course very quiet until we get to the beginning of September and Labor Day, and everything kicks off again. We do get busy sort of certainly around earnings season. Not all of them, but it depends what's sort of going on. I mean, the July period is the sort of like the earnings season straight after June. That can be busy, but it's the one sort of like March, April, that's very busy, and September, October, that's very busy. And also surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but once we get into the beginning of the new year and we start getting into February, March, that's also tends to be a very busy time for us as well. And of course, exceptionally busy if you have things like coronavirus happening.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully none of that, none of those are going to come through to us again.